The Naked DJs podcast, are they really naked? We know they expose themselves every day just so they can bring you the best of music. They like to stick it out there for everyone to hear. You can hear their podcast on Anchor.fm, YouTube, and any of your favorite podcast platforms. Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. And today we're going to be talking art and creativity as I am joined by multimedia artist, educator, coach, podcaster, and author of 5 related art books, Michaell Magrutsche. Michaell, one of the things he's going to be talking about is why 95% of artists are around the poverty level. So, Michaell, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Curtis.
Why don't you start off?
I get so relaxed with your voice. It's just awesome.
I appreciate it. But let's start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm an artist since I'm 6 years old, and I was always poor because that's what artists do. They are poor. You sell a painting for $11,000. You have this or that, and I was horrible in school, and I was dyslexic, and I just couldn't fit in anywhere but in the art community. And basically, art is my savior, is my drug, is my savior. And I felt always okay. There was no discrepancy on a human level. I mean, people discussed art, but there wasn't saying, okay, you're a Chinese artist, you're better, or you're a white artist, or it was no racism, no. If a woman would do something good, it was just normal. It was always secondary. All the diversifications were secondary. And that made me realize that the diversifications that we have, first it was just gender, then it was race, and now it's sexuality. And it's basically done for a reason that systems can deal with our limitlessness. We are limitless. Humans are limitless. And if you I focus always on, is it humane? Is it about humans, or is it about nature? Because that's our habitat. We need to survive. And I found I did a lot of things in art. For example, I started as a DJ. I built 2 discotheques. I produced fashion shows. I painted, TV produced. I produced with Robert Evans, the Paramount chief. I became an city arts commissioner. So I know art from all kinds of levels. And it's always magical. The art always brings the magic and brings the humans together. When you need just go into an art opening. Nobody gives a crap about Democrats, Republicans, poor, rich. And the funny thing is when you go to art openings, nobody looks at the art. Humans, kind of the magic of art, being surrounded by art, humans just start talking to each other. They relate to each other. And I feel comfortable in that environment. Perhaps other people don't. I feel it's about humans and nature, because that was not created by human beings. That was created by higher power. So that must be the highest truth for me. That's how I say it in my mind. And that's got me. And then I could not, like 3 years ago, so I couldn't understand. I said, God, it's magic. And I did already 2 books on art and stuff. And I said, oh my God, art is so, and when you write it down, you know that, Curtis, when you write down stuff, then all of a sudden you really get conscious about it. And then I realized, I said, oh my God, this is such a magical energy. And it has nothing to do with, it's just the God-given energy. I'm not religious or anything, but it's, how can that be that 95% of, or over 95%, I say 95, but over 95% of artists worldwide are on the poverty level? And this is what I discovered. First, I thought, okay, it's the systems, because the art as we know it, the art that we know in museums and what people say is art and art history and all, is all the business. It's all art in the society. What society deems as art is art. And if you create something and nobody likes it, they say, oh, it's not art. So it's basically a business, because as soon as you're done with your piece of art, it's a product, like a bicycle, and you throw it on the market, and the market uses that magic, but because the market knows the artists are all crazy and 95% are poor, and they just do it anyway. So there must be something special about it. And there is something special about it, but they just sell it like that. They don't know what it is. And so what we see is art is the art business. But the great thing of it is the creation. The creation is the magic, where the magic happens, where you get in the energy of, oh, I'm creating out of something. I have an inspiration. You have a thought about a song, about a poem, about a painting, and then you literally take that imagination and you transfer it into the physical. So alone, the process is magical to explain. I'm not talking about magic, King Arthur. I'm talking about something that's not explicable. But we haven't never looked. The artists have never looked at the explaining what they do. So when you go to a plumber, they say, "Hey, what are you going to do?" "Oh, why do I pay $2,000 for your plumbing?" And he says, "I'm laying the pipes. I need to dig this thing up." So they can totally tangible explain what they can do and what they do. And so what you're getting. In art, you don't, because artists never, ever define themselves. They just did what somebody paid for art. And that's the problem. And so I said, I started my last book, The Smart of Art, to explain that whole thing and to really see that this is two businesses in one. The one is the sales business, which is like any sales business with all the smoke and mirrors. And the other one is the magic and the great business of creating. And the creation process is what brings you to humanity, always. It always brings you to humanity. You can be distorted from whatever, drugs or whatever. You do drugs, and you see that with Alzheimer's patients. Now, the Alzheimer's Association is actually accepting art like a prescription. It's the first time even that is recognized that art therapy is like a prescription. So now we have something tangible. But do you think the artists would even go into that? They wouldn't recognize that. They say, "Oh, I want to be Picasso." No. We got to find the function and values in art outside of the system, outside of the man, outside of anybody that decides what is valuable or not. We have to find art from the human system. And 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks ago, or no, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was thinking this was my thought process. And then I got the big wisdom where there's no words. And the wisdom was, I understand why artists, now I finally understand why. Because there's no other job when you say, hey, to a plumber or an electrician, 95%, if you're done with your education, 95% you're going to be poor. There's no other job. Perhaps the president of the United States. But other than that, there's no job that says 95% you will be poor. And that's guarantee, and that's a fact. And it just clicked in me, and I don't know how, but it just clicked in me and says, yeah, because I can tell from myself, the more art you do, the less you want to go into the systems, the less you want to play that game. What's worthy, what's not, who is better, who is worse. Everybody is the same. humans, there is no, in nature, it doesn't say, oh my God, a deer is more worse than with a mouse. It just, everything is worthy because it exists, every living being. And what's living, that's higher than what's not living. So AI can never do what we experience as human. I hope that was a long introduction, but I got everything out that I wanted to.
Yep, you sure
know.
did. Why do
Yeah.
you feel like we are incompetent to talk about art?
Oh, the system. I don't think you and I are, but I think the system, because we are not incompetent. We have never. Look how hard art. I always tell that story how art creation started. Some kid felt he needed to be in a cave, need to make a painting, and the people liked it. And later on, there was somebody, and I can only imagine, this is not art history. Somebody drew in a pub, right? And the people were laughing. Oh, he has a nick for making caricatures of the people. So they got it, and it somehow got to a person like a king or something that had money. And there was no internet, there was nothing you can distract with yourself with. And they hired him, basically gave him a room, fed him, gave him a little bit of money, and they worked. Michelangelo, all these people, they were taking care of somebody that would support them. You don't have that with a plumber. You come, you do the plumbing, you go. And so artists have never learned to define what are we doing? Are we doing for our money? And I think that's just what, you learn over generation. You keep learning and learning. You do the same thing without knowing that you do the same thing. And so you say that's the truth. And really, we are so adaptable. We're just doing the same old thing.
Do you feel like political correctness is necessary in art?
No.
Why not?
Because art has its own. I mean, why would people? The first transsexuals, blacks, Chinese, any race was never discriminated from the. You can say, yeah, in general, but that's the system saying that. Because my women say often, oh, there is no famous painter woman. And Frida Kahlo was in her time not a famous painter. She was there, she was the wife, but she wasn't the famous painter. Now because we are more politically correct, but that's a system. The system made us racist and diversified. And then to handle it, it needs to make another system, which is political correctness, to say, oh, you can't do this. But there's a way of tact. You're not telling a handicapped person that falls down, you're not just looking away. A human being would go and help this person, not save him or anything, but he falls down. You think if you have you have eye contact with a homeless person. The system programs you that this person is bad, but this person isn't bad. This person just cannot navigate the system. Exactly like on the opposite, Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, they can navigate. They're master navigators. Are they better humans? No, you know that. Everybody knows it. They're not better humans or anything. The system says, oh, they're better, and they need to be more supported than the homeless person. I mean, half of the earth gets $5.50. 8 people own half the way. I'm not a conspiracy thing. I'm just saying, why? Why? We have enough food. I don't know if that's true, but yesterday I heard we produce 3 times as much food as the earth needs, and people still dying. I heard that there's like 10,000 kids in Africa die. And I don't know if it's a day or a month or a year, but nobody should die. If you die, you die, but not because we have it and you have to die. So as long as there is shit that we have that we can give to the people, we shouldn't. Not a single human should die. And I think the political correctness that you asked me is is the only part where it's unnecessary. It's in art, because in art you want to see if somebody is a racist. You want it's not to, you want to expose, okay, this is, and you don't want to shun him, because you want in art you want to understand why this person is a Nazi, why this person is Black Panther, why this person is thing. I don't, to have a surfacey explanation of a Nazi or a Black Panther is the system judgment. We judge by that. Instead of, in art, you can learn about things, but now political correctness wants to castrate art. We need to have once free space where Hitler can be Hitler and Black Panther can be Black Panther, and everybody can be themselves without hurting anybody. Because art says you can say anything, you can show anything, but you can't without harm, with harm to none. And people know when they go into, if you're offended by Nazis, if I'm offended by Nazis, I'm not going to look at that show, because the show says, every show today says, oh, it's for PG-13, or there's some smoking involved or whatever. If I'm offended by smoking, I'm not watching a movie with smoking. If I'm offended by whatever, the Chinese mob, I'm not going to go see a movie by the Chinese. So have the people responsible for themselves and learn in the environment of art and say, oh, this is one space in this on this earth where it's a human right to express yourself and whatever. And if that gives you a lot of juice, you can express it there and people can learn from that. It's not that people turn into racists or philanderer or anything. They're not going to turn in it because they get exposed what's behind it. And that's why I think we don't need political correctness in art. We need to revive art and say, this is the only way where it is political correct, because the people, the artists, handle it themselves. I trust human. I don't trust systems. You can't trust the system. The system was made by humans, and on the other side also stand humans. So it's human against human through race, gender, all the diversification, transgender, sexuality, and everything. And we don't see it. And that's why I'm saying always, that's why only my podcast is 30 seconds long, because you're doing all the work, the teaching work, and I do it on another level where I give you a thought and I trust that you can take with that thought and with that question, you can take and go with that. And you are human enough and strong enough to percolate or say, I don't care about this. This doesn't make any sense. I trust that the knowledge that comes through me or that is me can grow itself. So I don't have anything to sell. You can go on my website and find my 5 books. But the podcast is free, and it's about human. And I think in the current time, if we don't amplify the value of humans, we're gonna give our power that was God-given. We're giving that up to systems, religion, anything, politics. So I hope that makes sense, Curtis.
Absolutely. And speaking of your books, give us a brief description of all your books, and also tell us about that TV show that you produced.
The TV show I produced. Okay. I actually, that was my past. So right now I'm just an author. I'm writing my 6th book right now because of, and actually that got me into the systems. It got me, in The Smart of Art, my last book, I found that there's 2 different, what I just told you, there are 2 different things. One is selling and one is the creation. And I focus to explain that so people see that there's a difference. It's not like creating, being a plumber or creating bicycles. In this one, I go deeper in because I see the whole world is collapsing. Why do we create a system? You create a system, even a church, religion, or anything you create to be safe. Every system promises you to be safe and to have peace. Look what they do in Russia right now. It's crazy. Look what they did with the COVID. It's just human life didn't matter. We do what we do and we have to do it. And the system says, not human said, system said. And you can never put a system over the head. And this is my sixth book that I'm working now. What I did with my television show, I worked with, I did documentaries and for Discovery Channel, Arts and Entertainment, PBS, and I found them and repackaged them and re-edited them to the format of Arts and Entertainment Discovery with the production company I worked with to fit the formats that they needed, like Shark Week or all these funny things. And then later on, I worked with Robert Evans, the famous Paramount producer, and he co-produced a documentary about the Pope with him. And I lived with him six months in his house, and this was a very nice experience because he's a wonderful man. Screw all his success and everything, he is a wonderful human being, and it was a human experience that put everything that system taught me what Hollywood is right out the window. There was no parties, there was no drugs, it was just a human being. And it was, as much as at 6 months or 7 months I lived there, we were talking and talking and talking. And we had an exchange, and he taught me, I taught him through me. And that was wonderful, that experience. But that was already, 15 years ago or so.
Well, why don't you give out your contact information, website, and social media links so people can connect with you and check out your work?
Yeah, I have one hub. It's very simple, Curtis. I have one hub. It's Michaell M. So Michaell with 2 L's, m.com. MichaellM.com. And from there, you go to Instagram, to my podcast, to my books. It's all direct links from there. So it's easy to remember. MichaellM.com. And there's all my information. And I encourage everybody that is interested, not only in art, but in the superpower that humans are, to listen to my podcast, because it's coming out twice a week. It's 20 to 30 seconds. It's a statement from my book and then a question. And it will make you aware of your powers. It will make you aware of what it is to be a human being. Not a race, not a gender, a human being. And how important nature is. And that's it, Curtis. I have no sales funnel. I don't really want to sell anything. I just want to, because I think we're in a time right now where we're doing everything. If I say, oh, Curtis, you got to do this app and that app, and then you buy this computer and that computer, and then you have to do a sales funnel, and you do this. We're doing everything we can. We are just blinded from doing everything. We need to be like when we talk, or when we have a conversation, when we create some art or something. And that brings us back to humanity. And then you feel safe. Then you feel safer. And then you can actually navigate humanity, which is more important than navigating system.
Well, besides your sixth book, do you have any other upcoming projects that people need to know about?
No, I would say just listen to this. I mean, I've podcasts. I have 3 or 4 podcasts a week where I'm a guest, but I don't want to sell any. Goodness, if the people listen twice to this podcast of yours, at least 3 times, that's all they have to do. They don't have to do things. We're so into doing, There's nothing to do. Just have your own thoughts. You You're a powerhouse. I think every human is a powerhouse. And when they get conscious, they do it anyway. So if I say you have a disease, you will do something. And you don't have to change or anything. You will change automatically. You will either do something or say, oh, that's, the system says it's a disease. It's not really a disease. And you will change. And I think when I do a consciousness, when I tell people, they will change by themselves. I trust that they change by themselves for their needs. They can even go against me. It doesn't matter. They will change automatically. That's what I believe. I believe in humans.
Well, can you close us out with some final thoughts? Maybe some words for some inspiring artists out there?
Yes. The reason why you're not an artist, why artists are 95% or over that poor, is not because it's the system, it's that, it's because they don't see the magic in creation. And the more they create and the more they play with that magical energy of creating art, the less they want to go back into the systems. And remember that, milk the process. Like we're talking about, I'm milking the process from my emotions when I talk to you, Curtis. You know what I mean? So when you create and when you converse with others, be in the moment and enjoy that moment and milk that moment. And don't worry about what's tomorrow, in an hour, in a minute, yesterday happened. It doesn't matter. It is the moment. You have just that moment, because you can fall over in a minute, and enjoy that. So that if you fall over in a minute, you enjoy it the last moment with Curtis.
Absolutely. And also in that last minute, please be sure to follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible. And Android listeners, go to the Google Play Store in that last minute and download that Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app. Michaell Magrutsche, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Curtis.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.